You're listening to The Real Well Show with Kathy Fettke, the real estate investor's resource.
Most investors are looking for discounts when they buy property, and they want it to cash flow and they want appreciation. Well, what if you could also get an EU passport just for investing and still get the cash flow and the appreciation? I'm Kathy Fettke. Welcome to The Real Well Show. I'm so excited that my guests today are my daughter, Krista Fettke. Welcome.
Hi, thank you, Mom.
And her boyfriend, Alec Denny, who is also my travel buddy. Welcome, Alec.
How's it going? Thanks for having me on.
There's a whole story about that, and we will give it at the end of the show because it's awesome. But first, let's talk about what I know our audience wants to hear, is how can they make money, do a great investment, and then get an EU passport for doing it, which gives you, this is amazing, free healthcare for your family, and also free university at any European university for your children. Incredible. All right, so let's start with Alec. Tell me what the Golden Visa is and what people need to know about that.
Yeah. The first thing that's important to note about the Golden Visa is that this is not your typical, U.S. real estate investment. So where most real estate investments, the biggest focus is returns and building capital for the investors. This investment is about obtaining something that's completely different, and that's securing citizenship in a foreign country and eventually an EU passport. So back to your original question, what is the Golden Visa? So it's a way for an American or a non-EU citizen to obtain Portuguese citizenship in exchange for a 5-year investment in Portuguese real estate.
Okay. And Krista, what's the benefit of having an EU passport?
I mean, the list goes on and on. You have, first of all, the Portuguese passport is the 6th most powerful passport in the world. It gives you visa-free access to 188 different countries. And once you obtain citizenship in Portugal, you get access to their world-class healthcare. The World Health Report by the WHO ranked Portuguese healthcare 12th in the world. And just in comparison, America ranks 37th. And then the difference is that the Portuguese healthcare is free. And if you want private healthcare, it's only $60 per month on average. And just in comparison, in LA, which is where I'm at, private healthcare is about $426 per month on average. So just insane. That's one of the biggest benefits. You can also get access to free education or very cheap education. Europe has incredible universities, very comparable to American universities. And then just the obvious incredible way of life. If you want to stay in Europe for 6 months or even move there, the cost of living is so much less and the way of life is so much better in a lot of ways. Portugal is a lot like the California of Europe.
Yeah, Portugal is, it feels so much like California. The climate was similar. When I was in the plane, kind of looking down at the cliffs, it looked like California. It's just like miles and miles and miles of cliffs and ocean, great surfing, incredible weather. And it even, like, wait a minute, I swear I see the Golden Gate Bridge. And sure enough, turns out that the Golden Gate Bridge, or the bridge that they have there, was designed by the same designer that did the Golden Gate in San Francisco. They even have cable cars. Alec, you're from the Bay Area too, so is Krista. Did it feel that way to you? Did it feel familiar?
Yeah, it was like I was home, but everyone spoke funny. Spoke a different language than me. But yeah, I mean, it's just like San Francisco. And I mean, go 2 hours north, when you're in Porto, where it's wine country, and that's exactly how it is in Napa, 2 hours north of San Francisco. So it's exactly the same feels as being back home, which is funny.
But
the weather's even...
Oh, go ahead.
But the weather's even better than it is in San Francisco. So
that's a good point. I didn't see a lot of fog, although you guys did experience a little bit of rain there, which is great. They need the rain too. So why would you say, I think the last headline I saw was that Americans are the biggest buyers in Portugal right now. Why would you say that is?
So many different reasons. I mean, Alec and I were just living in Portugal for a while, and we just absolutely fell in love with the country. It is so much cheaper. It's absolutely incredible. Everything is at least half the price. And it feels, like you said, so much like California. The weather is exactly the same. The beauty is unreal. And
And lower crime in California,
thank you.
right? Which is surprising. People don't realize that.
Yeah, so before going to Portugal, I didn't really know much about the country, and I learned that it's actually the sixth safest country in the world according to the Global Peace Index out of 163 countries. And just in comparison, America is 129th, which is heartbreaking, but we always felt so safe in Portugal, walking around late at night. Just, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I did too. I walked around by myself at like midnight sometimes because, you guys would maybe be asleep when we were there or whatever. And I would take a walk and the streets were packed at midnight, like so many young people, which was shocking. I felt like it was a city of 20-year-olds. I mean, it was, right? Did you think that too?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was funny when we were in Lisbon last, which was about 2 weeks ago, we stayed there for 3 nights. And it was like every place that we went, you would hear a different accent and a different language just because it's such a major hub for everyone to go to. And everyone loved it. And it was me and Krista came down with the stomach flu, so we weren't going out as much. But out our window, you can just hear, the nightlife and just, how much fun the kids were having. So it's a place for that as well, not just for leisure and enjoying the beach. It's a place to definitely go out.
And they had a huge, not that it's anything anybody wants to do today, but there was a huge crypto conference with like 60,000 people in Lisbon. It's really become a world-class city. Maybe it always was, but it's just come on my radar recently. Although it started last year when somebody reached out to me and said, you've got to come out here and see the Golden Visa program. And I didn't for some reason. But then this summer, a very close colleague of mine, actually our property team from Florida, he's Irish and has an EU passport. We had an event in May, and he just looked at me and said, Kathy, the euro is on par with the dollar, which means that European real estate is on sale. We got to get there and check it out. And he happened to have a really close friend and colleague who has a property management business in Portugal. So we decided to set up a trip, go see him, and find out more about the Golden Visa program, go look at properties, see if it's really legit, and if it's something that we would want to tell people about or invest in. So we all went in August together to meet with Adam and to learn about it. And you guys were so impressed and so into it. It was really exciting for Mama over here to see you be excited about real estate, of course, because it's my passion. But you guys got so excited that you decided to stay in Lisbon, which I don't know if I love because it's very, very far from me, but that means I have to come visit you a lot. And then you got hired by Adam's company, Gateway Portugal, to work with the developers and promote it to Americans. So I'm so excited about that. Let's talk about some numbers, like what kind of investments, what kind of returns, just take away the passport from it and let's just look at it from a pure investment perspective. What can people expect there?
So first, before everything, it's kind of important to know the history of how this came about. Portugal was affected pretty heavily by the 2008 economic crisis. So it was created in 2012, and it saw a bunch of success in the middle of the 2010s. And they kind of had to alter it because it was just bringing in a little too many people. So it's involved now to buying a commercial property from a developer. So you're specifically buying a hotel room and then leasing it back to the hotel. So it's sort of a loophole that grants the investor residency, and that residency is allowed to be swapped for citizenship after 5 years. So the minimum price you're going to have to pay is 280,000 euros. And the way that they do the pricing is pretty unique. It's in 3 different categories, 3 different brackets. And you're going to have properties that are from 280,000 to 350,000. Those properties are going to be in low densely populated areas. For properties that have been renovated, properties over 30 years old. That's sort of in the central Portugal area, maybe a little bit in the south, but mostly just in the less densely populated areas. From 350,000 to 500,000, those are going to be the properties that are in a more populated area, such as Lisbon or the Algarve.
Yeah, so like Alex said, the minimum investment amount is 280,000 euros. The returns range from around 3% to 10%, depending on the property you choose. But it's important to note that, like Alex said earlier, this isn't really about the returns on the investment. The real estate is more just a vehicle to get that EU citizenship, to get that passport. And then the returns are just a really nice added bonus. So you're basically getting free citizenship and then some extra money in your pocket. Some of the properties that we offer actually offer buybacks at the end of the 5 years once you obtain that citizenship. So you invest the minimum amount of $280,000, get returns for 5 years, and then get your money back and get a citizenship with it. It's a great deal.
But the returns are pretty good too. I mean, some were like 8 to 10%, right? And then you get your money back at the end. So
Yeah,
that's
it's incredible.
not bad at all. Yeah. In fact, it kind of, that first year it pays for the fees of getting it set up, meeting with the attorney to do the application. I mean, you definitely want to do this right and have an attorney help you with it. We got to meet with one of the top attorneys in the country that does these types of applications for the Golden Visa. So Alec, there was that, the first tier is lower priced, and that's not in the populated areas, right? Because the powers that be, they don't want investment coming into areas where there's already investment, right? It's kind of like the opportunity zone in America, where there are certain areas of the country that are just not getting investor dollars and need it. And that's usually lower income areas, areas that haven't been renovated, older buildings and so forth. So with the opportunity zone in America, you get tax benefits for doing that. The Golden Visa is similar, where they're trying to bring investor dollars into these outer areas. When they started, like you said, in 2012, everybody was buying, they could buy anything. So they were getting residences, coastal properties on beaches. And of course, that was driving up the cost of living for locals. So it changed to where you have to invest in a business. But that business can be a hotel, which is still sort of residential because you get to use it. So let's talk about the second tier that's a little bit more expensive if you want to be more, in those nicer area, or not, I want to say nicer areas, but more populated areas.
Yeah, so the second tier is going to be 350,000 euros to 500,000 euros. And like you said, that's going to be in the more densely populated areas. So that's going to be Lisbon, Albufeira in the Algarve, Faro, Lagos. And these are going to be places that are older buildings, so 30 plus years old, but have been recently renovated. So, I mean, they're not beat down at all. They're brand spanking new, but, they're in the more populated areas.
And then we did get to visit one area in Cascais. I don't know if I said that right, but it's right outside of Lisbon. I stayed there. It's the cutest little surf town. And oh my gosh, I fell in love with it. And there is a hotel there that I think you can use for several weeks of the year when you invest, but it's definitely more expensive. So what's involved in the higher tier?
Yeah, so the highest tier is going to be 500,000 euros and plus. And that's like the one that we went to in Cascais or Cascais, however you pronounce it. And the reason why that's so expensive is because that's in a highly populated area. It's right outside of Lisbon, right on the beach. And it's also a brand new development. So it was made within the past few years. So those are going to be the properties that are going to be the 5,000 and plus. The new ones right smack in the middle of the populated areas.
The 500,000 and plus 5,000, you got my money right now. A property for everyone.
I'll go buy.
Yeah, and it's so funny because it's just a little hotel room. I mean, we've seen the condo-tel type of thing for a while, and I think it was probably 15 years ago, Real Wealth was doing this in Mexico, where you would buy a hotel room, the hotel leases it back, but you still get to use it. So with some of these hotels, they're basically taking this investor money. They don't have to get a loan. They're kind of getting your money to be able to build the property or renovate it. And that's why it's easier for them, once the property's stabilized, to guarantee that they could give you your investment back. It's just kind of amazing. Now that one in Cascais is, you can keep it if you want to, right? You have title to it. Whereas some other ones, you're kind of more investing in the overall umbrella company. So what was your guys' favorite? What you went and visited a lot of the properties. Some are just incredibly exotic. Like, I want all of them. But what were some of your favorites?
I'm going to jump in here before Krista does, because we have the same exact one. And I'm just so excited about this one. It's one in Lagos. It was probably 3 miles away from where we were staying in Praia de Luz. And it is in just the most prime location I've ever seen. It's probably 200 yards away from a golf course, and then 500 yards away from our favorite beach in all of Portugal. So just from the location itself, I mean, it's going to sell itself.
Krista, what was your favorite?
So Alex stole my thunder, but I have the exact same favorite. It was in the most prime location in Lagos, steps away from the most beautiful beach. And it's currently under construction. It's not going to be finished until 2024. But the pictures are just incredible. The renditions of what it's going to look like are incredible. And it's one of the cheaper ones. It's actually in the $350,000 range. And the returns on this one actually are 7 to 10% per annum, which is incredible. And you have the option to keep it after the 5 years after you get the citizenship, or they actually offer a buyback option. So if you want to sell it and just get your money back after those 5 years, the hotel will buy it back from you and you get free citizenship. You got 5 years of staying in this incredible hotel, and you got 7 to 10% returns per annum.
How many weeks do you get to use it? And is it free when you use it?
It is free. The owner's usage on that one is a week per year, or 2 weeks every 2 years, which is also the stay requirement that is required to obtain the Golden Visa. So you can do the Golden Visa application remotely, but you will have to travel to Portugal for 14 days every 2 years.
Oh, shucks.
Shoot.
Go stay in the property for 2 weeks on the beach at the great little surf town.
Not only do you have to go to Portugal and just get to relax on the beach, but you get a free stay in an incredible resort. So it's a pretty good deal.
And it was pretty surprising because we did, like I said, we were in the law office of one of the biggest law firms that oversees these types of things. And it sounded like as soon as you invest, so on one of these, what did you say the price was for one of the units?
For this one, it's $220 per unit, but because it's right? In a denser area, you are going to have to get 2 of them.
Because what's the minimum that you have to invest in that area? $350. So if it's $220, you're putting $440 in. But if all you have to invest is $350, you could potentially finance the difference above $350.
Yeah, that right? So that's a huge perk. You can't take out a loan in Portugal for the minimum investment amount because they're trying to bring money into the country, so that would kind of defeat the purpose. But for this property, for example, as long as you bring in that minimum of $350, then you can take out a loan from a Portuguese bank to cover the rest, which is great. And their interest rates in Portugal are so much, low, right? Much better, much better than the ones here.
Shockingly low. So that's so like in this very popular town. I mean, and this is a popular beach town. It's the southern tip of Portugal, and there's, like I said, great Europeans and people from all over the world go to vacation there, and I guess Americans now too. What, Krista, you said? What's the percentage of Americans that have been visiting or purchasing?
Portugal has been topping the list for a while of the main destination for American expats. And in 2021, the number of Americans moving to Portugal actually increased by 45% compared to 2020. So wow. It is just growing rapidly. And I mean, we saw it firsthand. There was never a language barrier. Everyone speaks English, and there are so many internationals there. It's so cool. It's just, especially Lisbon, it's just a city of all internationals, and it's so fun.
And one of the requirements is that in order to get the EU passport is you do have to be able to speak a little bit of Portuguese, but you have like 5 years to do that. And from what we were told, the exam is pretty simple. You just need to know the basics, which you'd want to know anyway, right? Okay. So, Alec, when we were in the law office, as I recall, they said that once you invest, you get your residency card, right? Like you don't have to wait 5 years for that. So if you did want to move to Portugal right away, you could invest in one of these properties and get your residency card. Did I get that right?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. So a benefit of doing the Golden Visa is not just after the 5 years, you get visa-free access to the entire EU or the Schengen area. You also can invest and then set up shop in Portugal and wait to get your Golden Visa or wait to get your EU passport. And then from there, you can travel to the surrounding countries. So yes, you can buy property and stay there.
And then you get you get access to the healthcare right away once you get the residency card?
Yes, you do. You get access to the healthcare. Mm-hmm. You get access to the free education. So
There's-
some of the education's
Oh,
given to residents, not all of it. So it's not free, but you still get benefits.
okay.
Yes. So when you're a citizen, it's free, and when you're a resident, it's you still get it, but just a little bit of money, some fees.
So who gets to benefit from somebody applying?
Yeah. So the applicant, the spouse of the applicant, any minor children of the applicants or the spouse of the applicant, any children above the age of 18, provided that they are financially dependent on the applicant and that they are single, legally single, and studying full time. Also, parents of the applicants, provided that they're financially dependent, or minor siblings, provided that they're also financially dependent on the applicant.
So there's a fee for each applicant, but a whole family could potentially go. And just the healthcare alone is an incredible benefit. So as soon as you invest and the money's wired and you've purchased whatever you've purchased, you get that residency card right away.
Yes.
That's amazing. And then what does it take then to actually, what are the chances once you've invested that you're actually going to get the passport?
It's guaranteed, actually. So even if the development falls through for some reason, once your application is submitted, once the money has hit Portugal, you're safe, you're free. Even if they discontinue this program, whatever happens, once your money is in, once you've submitted that application, you are able to get citizenship in 5 years.
So, Alec, you had some concerns that maybe they might not continue to extend this program, but you've talked to some people and they said if that happens, it will probably take a while. But is that something that applicants should be concerned about?
I mean, so if you're looking at the news and you want to do some research on the Portuguese golden visa, you might see that the Prime Minister a few weeks ago did state that he's going to do a reevaluation of the golden visa. And that might scare a few people off and may think that it's going to come to a close. But don't worry. We spoke to a few lawyers, and this is definitely not something to be worried about. I guess there are a few bad cookies, I guess, with applications, and one bad cookie brought up some political concerns. I think it had something to do with wire fraud or laundering money or something along those lines. But after we spoke to the lawyers, they said this is just kind of a political thing. He wanted to get the press off of his back and say if they do decide that this is something that they no longer want to continue, you will be grandfathered in after you sign the paperwork, even if they close it, say on year 2 of your golden visa. They'll still allow you to go all the way throughout the process.
Yeah, so if this is something you've thought about, if you're looking for a plan B, if you're uncomfortable with some of the things happening in America, if you just want to know that you could retire by the beach somewhere in a place that's affordable, and then be able to travel all of Europe, and oh my gosh, so many benefits, you probably want to pursue it sooner than later. And the website to get more information is gatewayportugal.com. Once you're there, you can learn all about what needs to happen. You can get a call with either Krista or Alec. I'm so proud of you guys for getting a job overseas. I just hope I still get to see you all the time, but that might mean that I have to come visit you a lot, which is fine. But so again, and then we're going to do a webinar. I think you guys are hosting a webinar on the date. I've got it here. I think it's
29th.
November 29th at 5 p.m. Pacific. You'll have all those details at gatewayportugal.com and also in the show notes. So now I think it's time to talk about our funny story. All right. So when Krista, you've been traveling for a year. You went to Prague for your junior year abroad, and a month later were sent back home because of COVID. So when you ended up graduating from San Diego State, a year and a half ago, you were like, okay, I'm going back. You went to Barcelona, lived there for a few months, but did a ton of traveling all through Europe. Came home, went to Asia, traveled all over Asia, came back home, and Alec was like, all right, if you're going to do all this traveling, I'm going to go to Europe. So, Alec, what's it been like meeting Krista right before she took off and traveled the world?
What has it been like dating Krista? That is a heavy question. It has been a lot of ups and downs. No, I'm just kidding. No, it has been absolutely awesome. It's funny. I talk to my friends and family about this all the time. Since dating Krista, I have traveled to 15 new countries. I've skydived. I've rock climbed. I have done all things that never in a million years would I ever do. So, I mean, she just completely gets me out of my comfort zone, and, I love her more and more each day because of it. But, yeah, she is. She's the reason why I can now say that I've been to 4 different continents. I visited her in Asia. Obviously, went to Europe with her this past few months, and then took a trip to Africa with her a few weeks ago. So she has been my rock, and has definitely gotten me out of my comfort zone.
Oh, so fun. So knowing that this relationship was getting serious and knowing that once that happens, it's going to be harder to kind of spend time with Krista, I guess. So when you guys were going back to Europe in the summer, I thought, okay, this is a great opportunity to find out what's going on in Portugal, to go travel with you guys, to start in Norway and make our way down to Portugal to go find out more about the Golden Visa property and meet with the developers and everything. So I was just, boarding the plane when I got a call from Krista saying, in tears, and I know this voice, the shaky voice, Mom, I can't find my passport. I'm literally, my bag is already checked. I am like getting on the flight, and I'm like, Krista, I did not want to go to Europe by myself. And I could kind of, there's silence, and I kind of hear Alec going, well, I'm still going. So, like, Alec, I'm game if you're game. Do you want to go travel to Europe with me? And Krista will find her passport. We're like, let's go for it. So we assumed that Krista would find it pretty quick. Where was your passport, Krista?
It was in the glove box of the rental car, and I realized that actually the day that my flight was, and I was like, awesome, I can get it super quick, make my flight, it'll be fine. Turns out that the rental car company rented the car back out, and it was a insurance rental, so they had no information on the renter except that he drove it down to Boston. So it was going to be a while before I got my passport.
So basically, I got to get to know Alec really well. We traveled Norway together. We had actually so much fun. I totally approve. And that was just a fun story. So, Alec, I hope we get a chance to travel together sometime.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because that's probably every guy's worst nightmare is either, traveling 4 days alone with either your mother-in-law or your girlfriend's mom. But there's a lot worse things to be doing than traveling Norway with Kathy Fettke. So I enjoyed it a lot.
Well, and you got me to jump off, I don't know, not a bridge, but something into the fjord in the middle of Norway, which I would not have done without you. So that was super, super fun. And I'm just, again, really excited that you guys are excited about real estate. It's my passion. Good deals, knowing that Americans can get kind of a pretty serious discount with the exchange rate right now in a market that is growing so fast. Everybody knows who's invested in or missed the opportunity to invest in opportunity zones in the U.S. They missed out on some huge run-ups because when that much investor money comes into any neighborhood, it's going to improve. And that's what they're seeing in Portugal. These neighborhoods that were kind of run down with older buildings or just had no development at all, they're becoming the trendiest part of Portugal. So great opportunity as an investment, a great opportunity to diversify, and of course have that plan B. So Krista and Alec, thank you so much for joining me on the Real Wealth Show. It's so much fun to have you here.
Thanks again.
Thank you for having us.
All right. And again, if you want to find out more about the webinar, just go to gatewayportugal.com. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as an offer to buy or sell any securities or to make or consider any investment or course of action. For more information, go to realwealthshow.com.